Hi, Sam here at Model Chile Scale Models, and here I have Revell's Rebel U-Wing fighter from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And it's a pretty basic kit. It's all pre-painted and snapped together, and it has lights and sounds, as you can see on the box. So it's obviously aimed at the younger market, but since it's the closest thing we've got to a scale model of the U-Wing, here it is. So unfortunately, the box was a bit crushed in the transit from the UK, but since Revell have decided not to sell these locally in New Zealand for some reason, so I've had to import it. But thankfully, all the pieces arrived intact. So let's have a look at the contents, and just a quick look inside the instruction manual. So it's all full colour guide of what goes where. Pretty simple, really. There's no painting guide necessary since it's all pre-painted. You can see there the swivelling wings and the activation button. And for the parts, so we've got the main upper and lower sections of the main body there, along with the clear parts for the windows. And that piece. And the engine covers. And all these were empty. I think they've decided to bag them up in here instead. So that's just the main engines, the landing gear, and the pilot's in there somewhere. And then these two sections for the body, that's the lower section. And the battery pack with the button. And finally the two swivelling mandibles thingies. So what I'm planning to do is just slap it all together and then basically just focus on a bit of extra painting and weathering. So now with the pilots painted, just a bit of a quick, simple job really. I'm going to give them a wash with this Vallejo light grey. Now what that will do is settle the dark colour in all the recessed lines, and I'll bring out some of the detail. Make them look a bit more three-dimensional. And also apply it to the seats. And I'm going to do the same for the cockpit area, but this time using dark grey instead. Also being careful here not to mess up the electronics underneath. Okay, so that's the build done, and it was super quick, super easy as expected. So now what I plan to do is give it a wash similar to the pieces I did before, just over the whole body, and then I might wipe away the excess and just leave it in all these panel lines here. And I'll also do some chipping to this paintwork. A couple of extra grey panels along these winglets, and then a couple of coats of flat I think should finish it off. And I'll have to mask these clear parts before spraying. And that button is kind of annoying. I just keep pressing it all the time trying to fiddle with this thing. So I'm just tempted just to rip the batteries out for now, because it's kind of driving me up the wall a bit. But anyway, and under the window there you can see some of the wash effect and the internal detail there. Just come out quite nice. And the pilots you can't really see anymore. They're quite embedded in there. So to start off with, I'm just going to start with a light grey wash. Just over the entire model. Okay, so I've left the wash to set overnight, and it's still a bit tacky, but it's not moving, so now it's just right to start washing it off. So I've just got this flat cloth and a bit of airbrush thinner, which is good for cleaning the acrylic paints. I just dab that on the end of a brush and then just simply wipe it away, and you'll see it's coming off the surface, but it's leaving the wash in all the panel lines. And then once I do a bit more detailing and a bit more weathering, I'll apply the wash again and leave that slightly modelled surface at the end. But I'm doing this now just for demonstration purposes really. I'd usually do all the painting and chipping and then do the wash, and then just leave it on these Star Wars kits. But with this way you can get it looking a bit cleaner, but still get all the detail and all the sunken areas, if you want to go that way. So I've just masked off a section of the wing that needs a bit of paint, and I'm just going to use a little bit of Vallejo light grey. Keep pressing that button. Right, so moving on to the chipping, I've got a colour that closely matches the main white, off-white colour, well, as close as I can get, which is Vallejo's white grey, just sort of an off-white colour. And just by using the end of a piece of sponge that I've cut off a larger block, dipping it into the paint, and then dabbing off most of the excess, so I've just got a bit of a dry layer left, and then just start dabbing it onto the painted areas. Just where I think there's going to be most chipped paint. Now I'm going to do the same thing just with a dark grey paint. Just to show that the paint is chipped through to the bare metal underneath. And now for a little bit of weather streaking and battle damage. I've got this Tamiya Weathering Master set, and it comes with this little applicator, and I'm just going to brush on some of this soot colour. And using the snow colour, I'm just going to do a bit of fading on these coloured panels. And for the engine intakes, I'm just going to put in the dark grey wash, which is almost a black, very blackish grey, and it'll just settle at the bottom there, give it a bit more depth. Now I'm just going to give it one last final coat of light grey wash, and then once that's mostly dry, then I'll start cleaning up some of the areas where it's a bit messy. Because this wash is water based, it's quite easy to clean up with water or just a bit of thinner. Now with all the wash finished, I'm just going to go back to the airbrush thinner on the end of a cotton bud, just so it's easier to clean up, and just start cleaning up some of these smudges. This is just where there's been too much wash collected in one area. And just by brushing it in one direction, I can sort of create streaking at the same time. And just for a couple of finishing touches, I'm just going to put some more of the soot withering on the back of these engines. And some silver highlights just for the legs. Okay, so I'm all done with the wash and the weathering, and now the final step is to apply the flat coat. So I've masked up the windows so it doesn't screw up the clear plastic, and I'm just using Tamiya's flat clear, just straight out of a spray can, and I'll just do a couple of light coats and that'll get rid of the shine and seal in all this weathering. But that also means I have to be really sure that this is the final finish that I want, because once I get the spray coat down, all of this will be impossible to change or to wipe off. So I'm just going over it and going over it again, make sure there's no rogue fingerprints or smudges that I don't want. And once that's done, I'll start spraying, and we'll be back with the final product. And here it is, all complete. So the flat coat's gone down and it's taken the shine off completely, so it's all nice and flat now. The only reflections are coming from the window panes, so that's good. And all the weathering is nicely sealed in. And yep, the electronics still work, and the lights come through. All the clear plastic, you can just about make out the pilots in there. And there's some internal detail through that window there. So overall, I think it's come out looking quite nice. Definite improvement over the base model. It's just a shame about the overall simplicity of the kit. So for example, these doors, these should be clear windows. And after seeing the movie a few times, I've noticed there's quite a bit of missing detail along the back here. Some fins should be all lined up at the back. And these engine intakes are a bit more complex, with like a fan behind these parts here. But for the price, I mean, it was really cheap compared to other kits. And like I said at the start, it's mostly aimed at more of a younger market. I think the box has 6+ on it. So it's, well, it's the only model available, it's not too bad. I mean, the overall proportions look about right. Unlike toys, which can be, you know, all over the place, this seems to be fairly accurate as the shape goes. So I'm quite happy with the final product. Oh, and I'll just pull out the wings just so you can see the different configurations. They kind of extend they snap into certain positions, so you can get them both lined up, so you can have it completely straight like a glider, and have them swept back like in the movie. If I can get it back far enough so you can see. And I wasn't quite sure what to think of the U-wing when I first saw it, but after seeing it on film and seeing it in person in this model form, it's definitely grown on me as a concept. It's not a pure fighter like the X-wing or the Y-wing, but it's still it's a pretty nice, unique looking ship for the Star Wars universe. But let me know what you think of the model, of my weathering attempt, and let me know what you think of the video, if it's been helpful, if you've managed to follow along, if you're planning to do some of these weathering techniques on your own model, or if you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, or if you've got any just general feedback, please leave a like or dislike. And any other feedback is greatly appreciated. So I hope you've all had a good Christmas, and I hope you have a happy new year in the next couple of days. And until next time, take care.